What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that was released last year that also has been nominated for an Academy Award. This was nominated for Best International Feature Film, and it's directed by Wim Wenders, who directed one of my favorite films of all time, Paris, Texas. I think Paris, Texas is an absolute masterpiece. I love the way it's shot, the performances in it are exceptional, and it's a movie that examines the human condition in a way that feels very realistic. The lead character in that film is incredibly flawed. We learn more about him through the runtime of the film, and the entire movie is him trying to make up for the fact that he was not a good person and trying to do the right thing despite doing the wrong thing for so many years. And I just think it's such a beautifully human movie, and I haven't watched all of Wim's filmography, but as soon as I saw the trailer for this movie, I had to watch it immediately. It looked like something that 100% was going to be for me, and I finally got to go to the theater and watch this, and the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is Perfect Days. Perfect Days is directed by Wim Wenders. Hirayama seems utterly content with his simple life as a cleaner of toilets in Tokyo. Outside of his very structured everyday routine, he enjoys his passion for music and for books, and he loves trees and takes photos of them. A series of unexpected encounters gradually reveals more of his past. So, as I said, I was very excited to watch this movie, especially loving Wim Wenders' Paris, Texas, and just thinking that he is an incredibly talented filmmaker. And this is one of my favorite movies released in 2023. If I was restructuring my list, this would easily be in the top 5. This movie is remarkable, it's beautiful, it's simple, but it's a movie that understands human emotion in such a complex way that it's just really impressive. There's often times when you're examining the nature of human beings, it feels like there's certain elements that would be difficult to convey through like a filmmaking medium or through a literary medium, but there's something about this movie that is just so beautifully realistic that it's impossible not to be immersed and engaged through the entire 2-hour runtime and to not just absolutely adore our lead character. And I'm very excited to talk about the movie with you today. So at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to Hirayama, played by Kōji Yakusho, and exactly what the plot description says is the movie. We see his day-to-day routine over and over again of getting up in the morning to the sound of a broom. He doesn't even have an alarm. He shaves, he gets in his car, he buys the same coffee every day, and he works for this toilet cleaning company in Japan, and he goes from various restroom to restroom and cleans all of these bathrooms. But unlike a lot of people in that line of work, that is a line of work that is treated very horribly. People that have janitorial positions or just people in the customer service industry are treated relatively horribly for the jobs that they do. It's really thankless work. He takes it very seriously, and he's passionate about his job, and he's very good at his job. And we see him do the same thing day in and day out, and we see his lunch breaks that he takes. We see after he gets done with work, he goes to the same bars and restaurants and sees the same people. And he's a very quiet person. He only seems to speak when it is absolutely necessary for him to speak. And throughout the film, we're introduced to characters that unveil more about his past. We're introduced to his sister, we're introduced to his niece, we're introduced to different people that he comes into contact with, and through that we learn more about his life and more about the human experience in general. So as I said, I thought this movie was remarkable. I loved every second of it. It is very quiet, it is very slow paced. If you're not into slice of life cinema, you're probably not going to like this movie. There is a lot of it that is our lead character just doing his day-to-day job and really getting inside of his mind and understanding his routine. So the other elements of the film related to his relationships and his interactions with other people pay off more emotionally when you understand who he is as a person. The perfect comparison I would have for this movie is Jim Jarmusch's Patterson. It is very similar, where you're seeing a character in their day-to-day life doing their job, but learning more about them and understanding more about them. And I loved that about this movie. Kōji Yakusho's performance in this film is absolutely incredible. I am really disappointed that this movie only got a Best International Feature nomination, and it really just goes to show that the Academy doesn't love foreign film, and it's really disappointing because his performance in this requires so much of just facial expressions and being in isolation and doing the same things over and over again, and he has to do so much with very limited dialogue, and it's incredibly incredibly impressive that in the first 20 minutes of this movie, you are so attached to this character and genuinely care for everything that's going on in his life without him speaking maybe a single word of dialogue, and that takes a lot out of an actor. And I was just completely blown away by his performance. All of the other actors and actresses that show up in this also do a really great job with the material that they're given, and it feels very natural and it feels very day-to-day life. The cinematography in this is wonderful. I really love the simplicity of it. There's a lot of static shots showing you these restroom areas and like the variety of scenery, and there's a lot about technology mixed with nature here, and like how technology is progressing and that there can be beauty in technology as much as there's beauty in nature, but there's also this disappointing element of nature disappearing and technology taking over. And it's a really complex theme, but it's explored in a very quiet and beautiful way. So many scenes in this, Hirayama is like sitting on his lunch break and he has this little disposable camera and he just takes pictures of the sun coming through the trees. And it's just really beautiful moments of this person who loves nature. Every morning when he gets up, he smiles at the sky regardless of whether it's sunny or it's cloudy out or however it is outside. He's just happy to be alive, and he drives around in his car and he listens to these cassette tapes, and he's obsessed with cassette tapes. He doesn't have a modern cell phone. It looks like he has a flip phone, and he really only uses it to communicate with his work, and he's very much just in his own world. He's living his day-to-day life the way he wants to live it, in a very simplistic way. He takes care of plants at his house. He goes to this bookstore and buys these dollar books and reads them and has these brief conversations with the woman who runs the bookstore. And throughout the film, we're introduced to characters that give us a little more insight as to where he's come from and how he's perceived by his own family. He's really looked down upon by his family members because of the line of work that he's in. But he chose this line of work and he likes doing it. And there's some scenes even where he interacts with the general public where people just look down upon him because he is a janitor, and they see him as lesser than because of the type of work that he does. And I think there's a really powerful statement in that, because service industry workers really don't get a lot of thanks. I'm someone who worked in the restaurant industry for a majority of my life, in bottom of the barrel roles all the way up to general management roles where I was running restaurants. And no matter what position you're in, whether you're the high up leadership or you're just a person working a drive-through or a front counter, people just want their food and they want to go. They don't thank you for it. They don't really care all that much. You get few and far between people that are gracious for it, but people live busy lives, and when you're in jobs like that where people are like, you exist to make my life easier, they don't really think about the people who are involved. And so I thought that was a really beautiful message that the movie had to convey. And there's a lot of like nuanced themes you can explore, but what I really loved about this was looking at someone who chooses to live this life of simplicity and wants to be at one with nature and wants to read and enjoy these elements of life that he appreciates, and how he kind of ignores what's going on in the modern day because he doesn't really want any part of it, and he's happy in his world. But things start to bleed over into his perfect idea of his world, and how so many people in this world, no matter how you want to live your life or how you want to operate, the real world is always going to creep in. Problems are going to always arise no matter who you are. And I think there's a really powerful statement to have this character who is so lovable, that genuinely enjoys their day-to-day life and going to work every day, having these elements bleed in that make portions of his life difficult, because that's the reality for virtually every person alive, is that life isn't simple. Life can get incredibly complex no matter how simplistic you try to make your life. And I just thought that was really beautiful. And like I said, that relation of nature to technology is really a prevalent theme throughout the film. And it was really thought-provoking, thinking about a place like Japan and Tokyo specifically, which is one of the most technologically advanced places in the entire world, and to see like the level of technology just in their bathrooms for people was really interesting. And I think Wim Wenders does an amazing job at creating this very simplistic world with a really wonderful character that has really beautiful moments that will resonate with you. There's all these really incredible shots. Every night when he goes to sleep, he has these dreams about his day. There's these beautiful like overlaid shots that just recollect on moments throughout his day, and it just really feels like what experiencing a dream feels like. And I was so impressed with the intentionality and the filmmaking in those moments. I just had a smile on my face through the entire 2-hour runtime of this movie. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. There were multiple moments in the film that made me tear up. And like I said, it is a very simplistic slice of life film. And if you're not into movies that are slower paced, you probably won't get into it. But if you're someone who can really sit back and appreciate this piece of filmmaking that's saying something incredibly important and powerful about day-to-day life, it's 100% worth watching. So have you seen Perfect Days? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was remarkable. I loved it. I had a smile on my face the entire time I watched it, and I cannot wait to watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.